Hey, this is Rafa. I'm going to add a comment to this right here. It's going to be long-winded. Hopefully you'll stick around and save this video for later. I've been in the same shoes where I got promoted with the same team, and it's tough. I don't know your entire scenario. There's two scenarios. One, you've always been that informal leader, so the transition's pretty quick and not a big deal. And the other part is that you're not the informal leader. You're the best worker or the best person available to get promoted in that, and you probably deserve it, and you got promoted in there. Still, you're going to have some people that have some kind of resentment. Even in both scenarios, you want to make sure that you start building trust. And how I did that and what I do now when I coach leaders is that you have to solve problems. You have to understand what their biggest frustrations are and begin to facilitate solutions to their biggest issues. But here's what you have to do in every single scenario. If you're a new manager or a new supervisor in your situation, begin with the work. Yes, everything that the creator's telling you is important, but fundamentally you have to start with the work. What I mean is make a list of all the activities, right, which are all the jobs, the frequency, and the reasonable expectation, whatever that list is. And you might solicit your teams, you might know what it is, but you start with that list. The second thing is that pull the data, understand what the KPIs are for that group, right? So you can understand what the current performance is, because remember, you're building trust. And in order for you to build trust, you've got to know the performance of each individual and as a team, because you're going to try to take them and create a path for success. And if they don't trust you, guess what? None of the stuff that I'm telling you or the creative's telling you is going to matter. So understand the data, what the KPIs are, productivity, efficiency, cost per unit, and other ones to begin understanding their current performance. The third thing, and this is probably the toughest thing in any organization, but it's going to be the most valuable, is begin tracking the barriers within your team. The way you want to position and say, hey team, I'm the new manager. I really want to understand what your barriers are with what you're doing. I don't know, but here's the backstory behind this, right? Because you can ask them, what are your barriers? And they're going to tell you. Guess what? As human beings, we're always going to exaggerate the truth. It's not that you're not taking their word for it. Data does not lie. We as humans tend to be biased towards things, and we want to self-incriminate ourselves in that. So the thing you want to encourage and say, hey team, I really want to understand what the barriers are. Here's a tracking tool that I've created to really understand what's causing you frustrations or the things that's causing you not to get work done. Here's 10 categories. Let's track this for the next month and really understand what they are, because I want to know. I can't be with everyone everywhere. So if you track this during the day, and you get to explain to them and train them, say, hey, whenever this happens, right? If it's hijacking, rework, waiting, all those different categories that you've decided on, or as a group you guys decided on, whenever this happens, track anything over to 5 minutes, whatever that threshold is, because you don't want to track every single minute, and go, hey, track it and see what it looks like. Every single day when you do this, you want to make sure, here's where you build trust. Every day you want to, if you've got 10 employees, you get 10 logs. Put in Excel, create a Pareto graph, and every single morning when you guys meet together and say, hey team, this is a graph. I really like this. I really appreciate it. This is our top issue. How do we fix this? How do we fix this top issue that you guys are talking about? You're like, I don't know. Well then, hey, okay, let's continue tracking it and see if it's a bigger issue at the end of the week. Then you start tracking that data and really understanding what it is. But guess what? You got to start fixing the low-hanging fruit, because maybe that one is 10 hours or 15 hours or 20 hours, and the last one on that Pareto graph is 2 hours or 3 hours, and those are quick fixes. You begin fixing those, and guess what? You start building trust, because they're tracking it, they're doing it, and you're fixing those, and they're like, hey, not bad. I don't have to deal with this thing anymore. Or whatever that is. Could be a supply issue, could be pens, paper, whatever that is. You begin following up and fixing those issues. But the bigger one, you're like, hey, I don't know really what the answer is to this. I'm going to talk to my boss or talk to engineering or facilitate something so we can begin the process of fixing this issue. And that in itself, right, tracking barriers and lost time will be the most impactful item that you have as a new leader in this situation, because it's about building trust. And how you do that with a group is you have to start fixing stuff. all this other stuff. And I get that you have to meet with them and figure out all this stuff. I get it. But the fundamental thing you have to begin doing is begin tracking work, measuring performance, and provide recognition where it's due. And the other thing is that make sure you're holding a meeting every single morning or at the beginning of the shift, beginning of the workday, and say, hey guys, this is what we did well. This is what we didn't do well. You have to be very consistent with those things and communicate those things. It's going to take a little time, but you want to build trust at the very beginning. The only way you can do that is to listen. What we're doing is listening. Activity list, KPIs, the barriers, all that is listening. You're not taking action for the first 2 weeks. You're not. You're just listening. But you're not just listening randomly. You're listening with intent and understanding what the backstory is so that you can take action on those things going forward. And that in itself will get you out of this situation.